Good evening. Good evening. It's Wednesday evening, 9 o'clock, and it's time for another edition of Hope and Action Network's Friend of a Wounded Heart program. I welcome you to this program this evening. You know, we are on every Wednesday at 9 p.m., and we discuss some very interesting topics. Each week, we have a special topic for you. But before we begin, let's say a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, and we thank you for taking us safely through the day. And as we go into tonight's program, we place it in your hands and we say, take full control, guide our deliberations, and may somebody be positively influenced by what we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So welcome,
Amen.
welcome, welcome. Good to see you. You know, you inspire us because you come and you join with us every Wednesday evening. You share with us, you discuss, and hopefully you share the recordings as well so that other people could benefit from what we do. I warmly welcome Veronica. I didn't see you for a while, girl. Welcome, welcome. Yes, and you can share our program too, our recordings with your relatives and friends here and there so that they can benefit from what we do.
Thank you for that welcome, Joan. I'm still on vacation.
Oh, you're still there. Well, enjoy totally. Enjoy
Thank
totally.
you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
it's been a while. I know that.
yes, and be
Yeah.
safe. Be safe out
Th-
there.
Hello,
Be safe.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Veronica and Cheryl.
Hi, good
Good
afternoon.
evening.
Well, good.
Okay. Yes, so we have been doing this now for quite a while. This is our 90th session. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Soon it will be 100. And that program is entitled It's a Celebration. So on the 100th session, we are going to celebrate. Just 10 more because we are on 90. Akisha, welcome, welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, how are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just a bit hustling, but I'm good.
I know how it is.
Yes.
Well, Keisha, I missed you so.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I missed you. I felt as though a part of me was missing. But
Oh,
I'm glad that you were gone and that you had fun. I'm happy to have you back.
yes, yes. I'm happy to be back. I'm really happy to be back. I just have to get back into the groove of things a little bit, but I'm happy to be back.
You will get back
Hi,
in.
everybody. I hope everyone is
Slowly.
well,
Take your time.
In the meantime.
And Akisha always reminds us as to why we're here. Why do we come here every Wednesday evening? What is this about?
Yeah. So, we are here every Wednesday evening to fulfill one little purpose. At Hope and Action Network, we have a vision statement that reads, a society built on strong foundations through the empowerment of everyone. So we are here ready to try to empower persons to make better choices, to make better decisions in their lives, because we can only control what we do. And if you really take in a lot of our programs, is really geared towards how we respond to things, how we treat ourselves or other persons. So we really do hope that we are making that mark at Hope and Action Network, fulfilling our vision every Wednesday evening while we are here. I'm also here to remind us about the last 5 sessions that we would have looked at. And funny thing is, I would have missed a few sessions myself, so I too have to go back to some of these sessions to put them. Like last week, happy emancipation. For those of you who are here and know what that topic entails and everything about that, now I invite you, for those of you who missed it, to go back and look at that recording. Of course, we always have something that's either trying to empower persons or trying to change us in some positive way. And so, happy emancipation was the last topic that we looked at last Wednesday. The Wednesday before, we talked about learning to love yourself. And that was such an important topic. that really reflected on a situation that would have happened quite recently that led to that topic. And it's very important for us to really learn to love ourselves first.
Yeah.
The week before that, on July 17th, we looked at Watch Out My Children Part 2. And that was a two-part session. So on July 10th, we looked at Watch Out My Children Part 1. And then we moved on to Watch Out My Children Part 2. And the fifth topic that we looked at, which was the week before, which I think was July 3rd, we talked about He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. And that really talked about the natural disaster that took place a while ago that affected some of our Caribbean islands, and talking about how we really treat with persons during their time of difficulty. This evening, we are going to talk about Watch Out My Parents. I'm not a material girl or boy. And I pass it back over to Dr. Ward, who will give us a little more light in terms of what our topic is going to deal with this evening.
Thank you, Akisha. You always do this so well. How many times have you done this already? Almost 90 times, almost.
Yes,
eh?
we are on our 90th session. I missed a few here and there, but for the most part, I would say maybe about 80 something.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
So
yes.
we are really happy. We are counting down to our 100th session. We are there in the next 10 weeks, people. So, and that is going to be a grand session. It's going to be something that we all will have to celebrate together. So, watch
Yes,
out, my parents.
you do this so well. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
recap. Yes, watch out, my parents. You see, we spoke to the children over the last two sessions. Watch out, my children. Or two sessions ago, because last week we went to emancipation. But parents, we have to watch out as well. And, I have been searching the internet, searching for ideas. People ask, well, where do you get the topics? And I tell them they come from God. Wherever he directs, there's where I stay for the week. This week we had planned to do Watch Out My Children 3. But when we look at society, when we look around, I was a bit troubled. I really didn't feel that it was appropriate. And so I depended on God again to give me the topic for this week. And he said, speak to the parents. He also said, remember, this is a material world. And much of the trouble that the youth are giving result from the world we're living in and its materialistic profile. So I searched for some songs, and I found this song by Madonna, I'm a Material Girl. And she said, she was saying people will come to her, men will come to her, but if they didn't have money, she was not interested. She's a material girl. Unfortunately, many of our young people are material girls and boys. And because of this chase for material things, because of this quest to achieve material things, they are getting themselves into trouble, serious trouble. Now, if you look at some of them who get into trouble, including a young lady this week who was killed in Tobago, we would notice how heavily laden their necks are. But gold enough to be able to break their necks, and yes, they're wearing it. When we look at the shoes, when we look at what they want to drive and the things they do, we realize that the focus is on material things. And if we could help parents to understand that they can play a role with respect to changing this, then we would have done something. So Madonna said she was a material girl, and I'm saying that there are material girls and material boys around, and it is scary. It is scary what's happening to us. So we're going to talk about some ideas this evening for helping them to become well-rounded. and honest and law-abiding, because we realize when they are materialistic, sometimes they do anything to acquire the material things. But we want them to be healthier. We want them to be well-rounded. We want them to be honest. We want them to achieve balance in life. We want them to be grateful for what they have. We want them to work hard as well. So we're going to discuss some of those strategies this evening. And we welcome your participation. Last week we had a ball. The participation was to the max, as the young people would say. And we wish to have the same thing this evening. So we're going to talk about materialism to start with. And I want you to tell us what you think what is materialism? What is it really? When you hear the term materialism, what comes to mind? When you look around, what comes to you?
Using things to make you important. Or using things as a standard of what and who you are.
Yes, Marjorie, you hit the nail on the head there. Using things to feel important, using things to define you, to make you feel important, focusing on the outward to boost a sense of self, Rebecca says. Yes, it's about things. And if you have things, then you have a sense of importance. And if you don't have things, you feel like you must get them. And in some instances, by any means necessary. So we heard from, thank you, Marjorie, and thank you, Rebecca, for your responses. I see Eustace is there, and Eustace, I want to hear from you, you know. When we talk about materialism, what are we talking about? So we're talking about loving things and using things to make you feel important. But what else do you see out there, Eustace, in terms of materialism? Okay, maybe he stepped away, but anybody could respond. Do you notice a craving for things among these young people? So they're using things to feel important. And because everybody wants to feel important, it appears as though there's a craving, almost aggressive craving for things. Does anybody else notice that?
Yes, recently I am helping a family, 2 girls, get ready for school. And I had bought them bags the last semester, the last school year.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was away, I didn't do that kind of shopping because my husband wasn't there and whatever. So my son is coming and 2 nieces of mine are coming for the holidays. So I said to the mother, what do the girls need? And she said they need bags. So I asked the girls, because they are quite on Amazon, they are quite active on social media. And she sent me a bag, cost, say like $70 US. Normally, I would buy the bag if the child was doing well in school. She must have barely passed the subjects that she needed to pass to go to the other 4. So I calculated it in Trinidad dollars and I said, no, I'm not buying that bag for that price, because the name of the bag is some name that people are using. The mother said the bag
Very
is like
good.
$1,200 here. And I said, well, if you have $1,200, why are you asking me to buy the bag? Go buy the bag if you think that's important. And what I'm hearing is that everybody in school have the bag. Well, I'm saying, if you don't have money to buy food, how can you afford a bag for $1,200 for a school child who is learning?
Marjorie, and some of them, Glenda, I see your hand. Marjorie, some of them will go to school with an empty bag, you know. Just to have a bag hanging on their shoulders that would cost $1,200.
So I told the mom, anytime you make your kids more important than you are in trouble. Because this is the standard that they will operate on from now on. So when you are old, they are more important than you. And I say, I'm not going to buy the bag. She eventually sent me another bag for $20-something. And I said, yes, I'll buy that bag. And
Good, very good.
It's so sad what's happening.
Very. And that $20-something bag, that's 20-something US. And it's going to be
Yes.
sold down here for quite a bit of money. And I'm sure it's a good bag.
It's a good bag. It's a good bag. I look at the
But
brand. It's a good bag.
it's a material world. It's a material world. Yeah. Glenda.
I have had people say
Sorry,
to
Marjorie,
me,
go ahead.
I have had people say to me when I just started to go to a church in Scarborough, well, if they know where you live and see how you live, you'll have them as friends. And I thought that was the craziest thing I heard. People are judging you from where you are, what you drive, what you wear. That's childhood stuff. That's high school. I'm not going back there. Anyhow, that's high stuff.
Okay, thanks for your contribution, Marjorie, and thank you for not purchasing that expensive bag.
I wouldn't buy it for my kids. Why, or my grandkids? Why am I going to buy it for a stranger? And my grandkids, the parents are not that crazy either. They don't do that.
I remember taking my eldest son to this store to purchase us a pair of school shoes one August vacation. When we entered the store, my son refused to look at the cheap sneakers. So I was there looking at the cheap ones and trying to get his attention, and he was staring intensely at this section with the ones that cost over $1,000. Of course he didn't get it. Of course he didn't get it. You get that pair of sneakers when you're working and could purchase it for yourself. Yes, go ahead, Glenda.
I must agree with that lady. That is so true. Do you know a lot of the fights that take place in school is because this child has this and that one jealous, that one. And this one want to destroy what this one have because they can't afford it. And the parents are the ones that is fueling that. So this Watch Out My Parents, I think is such an apt title because the parents are, now you, as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, catching your skin, you will have the gall to send to tell your friend to buy a $70 US bag for a child. What are you doing? But they do it. You hear little children want Jordans to go to school, and Jordan this and Nike and all these high top. And the parents want the children to feel that they all this rather than teaching them the values of life. And John, this is why we have these problems in our society. Parents are not parenting the way they ought to parent.
Indeed, and we'll talk a little more about that later on. Yes, thank you for that contribution. I see Anita's hand is up. Yes, Anita,
Yes,
let's hear you.
good night, everyone. Well, the shoes that the bag that Margie spoke about, it was on the news tonight.
Really? Okay.
And the bag is $1,200. And the store owners are saying that is what the people are looking for. The children are asking for the old school, which is $700 up to $1,000. And the bag is $1,000 to $1,200. And that is what the parents are buying for the children to go to school. And you are buying that bag for the children. I supervised exam this year. And I wish every parent could have get licks because the children learn nothing. And they have these big bags going to school. I went to exam room one morning, by the gate, the principal had to ask a boy, what do you have in your book bag? Not one book.
Nothing.
She said, go home. She said, there was the security guard. She said, go home. Go right home and get your books and put in that bag. He have the empty bag hanging on his back, going to school. So we are your parents. When you have that bag with nothing in it, going to school to frustrate teachers in school. And we are the ones causing our children to do those things because we are the ones who buy those things for them. And they go to school and all they go to school and study is the shoes and the bag. Nothing in the head. Shoes and bag. And give and frustrating the teachers. So if we allow that to happen, we are the one that need the licks, not the children.
My parents had 8 of us. And I think I mentioned on this program, I see your hand, Teresa, and I'll take you just now. I think I said it on this program. Our parents had a shop. And so they had flour bag, which my mother would wash and bleach out and then cut and sew to make our school bags. Well, nowadays, these children would not have taken them to school, but I thank God that my mother was able to make our school bags, and our school bags had books in them. What are we teaching our children? Parents, what are we teaching our children? What are we teaching our children? Teresa, I'll take you and then I'll ask Akisha to deal with the comments in the chat, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Joan, I agree with all of you. And what you just said that happened with you and your son, I actually had a similar experience with my son. We went to buy a pair of shoes, and those were the days when, a good few years ago, and I could have only afforded a shoe for about 100 and change. And you know, that is really a cheap shoes. And my son was the most
That was a good shoe long
unhappy.
time, Teresa. You're not talking about nowadays. 100
No,
and
no,
something was
even
plenty money.
actually at that time, that was a cheap shoe because
Okay.
at that period, the Nike came out and the Reebok and so on came out, and they were 400 and so on at that time.
Okay.
So I could not afford the ones for $450 and $500. So I told him I have $150. And that boy was so sad, and I had to rough him in the store and all, you know. You have to buy it. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? That's all I had, you know, and I bought it for him. He had to go with it. But in a way, you know, we really have to, from very, very small, from very, very young, we have to build that sense of self-esteem within them. And many times parents themselves don't have that self-esteem. They don't have the confidence, they don't feel good too, you know, about themselves to put it into, instill it into their children. And the peer pressure that these children face is a whole different story when they reach the school now, because I am sure his friends were making jokes on him now, because he attended Fatima at the time and everybody wearing all sorts of expensive sneakers, and he had to wear his $100, and I think it was $100 for it. He had to wear it. I felt sorry, but that's what I could have afforded at the time. So it's a whole lot that goes on, you know, with parents and children and the things that they need and how they feel. The peer pressure is a serious thing, you know. It's very, very serious.
Yes, we know it is. We know it is. Yeah. Yes. Yes,
They feel
Teresa.
badly and feel, you know, real sad.
So
Okay.
society needs to change. And you know, I think it was Hillary Clinton who said, if it takes a village to raise a child, then let's educate the village. It's a very powerful statement. And what we're trying to do here is educate the village so that we'll get this whole materialistic head off our children and put some sense in them. Yes, Dovicia.
Yes, good night, everybody. All right, very interesting conversation tonight. I just remembering even when I was going to school, I put it in the chat there. It was palette man. Mom used to have all the girls with the white palette man and the cloth ones and you polish. And then with the liquid polish with the sponge
Yes.
and you press it down and you squeezing it and
Mhm.
put it outside to dry. And I have a son, he's 11 years old now, and since he's small, is from a baby, because he wasn't walking, socks. He had no sneakers because I was like, your foot growing fast, you're small, you ain't walking, I holding it in my hand and socks on your foot. And now you're seeing like babies with Jordans on their foot, actually making baby Jordans and all kind of baby Adidas and stuff.
Which
You know,
makes
so
no
what kind
makes
of
no
$300,
sense.
$400. Yeah, because the children can't walk. So he rocked socks until he could walk, and even after he started walk, it was Payless shoes. Payless know me so well now. That's all he get. And he doesn't complain. He doesn't complain. He don't even care what the less I bring him for him. You say, you bring our shoes for you, okay. In fact, sometimes he prefer to keep his old shoes for you. Guess what? That's it. But being 11 now, that's his attitude towards things, which is good for me. I hope he stay like that. Because you know how society is, how it will mold your mind and shape you as you go into
Yes.
secondary school and all of that and meet different children. So I really hope he remains a person who doesn't run down vanity and things and brand name. You know, so that's my contribution.
Yes, the Vizier. I pray that he continues like that. You see, what we teach them
John,
too is important. What we teach them. And nobody says that they shouldn't like nice things. Yes, Anita.
as the visa said, wearing shoes. I remember I went to a daycare once and they had a function. This little boy well dressed with suspenders and long pants, but he was bare feet. And I asked the daycare person why. She said his father is a chiropractor. And he said children should not wear shoes until they are able to walk in it. He said when you give children shoes before they are able to walk in a shoes, you damage their feet.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and she said, and he's a chiropractor, and he said no. And those children went to every function that the school had, well dressed,
In their
bare feet,
socks.
and they socks. And I
Yeah.
was amazed, and he said no, don't give your children shoes until they're able to walk. You damage their feet.
Hmm. Yeah, let's take Sherilyn. Thanks, Anita.
Good evening, good evening. How is everybody on the call tonight?
We're good, we're good.
All right, so let me just put in another piece there. Children learn by what they see. Now, there are some parents. How the old people say, they put their hat where their hand can't reach.
For some things.
For some things. And children learn by example. And there are some parents are dressed like the children. And children look on and say, well, mommy and daddy, if you could buy that, you could buy that for me too. When we have our children, we have 3 grown adult children, but when they were small, we let them know you don't know what people do to get what they had to get.
Mm-hmm.
Be contented with what you have. And my kids grew up with butter bullet. And no matter how much of the student had different brand name shoes, my kids were very happy with what they have. Like one day, my daughter told him, hey, it's the same shoes, your foot going in the same shoes. It doesn't make no difference if your shoe is black or mine's white, but it's the same shoes and my shoes lasting longer than your shoes. Yeah. By the time you look up, your shoes mash up, I still have my butter bullet going. You understand? Mm-hmm. So we have to teach our children value, we have to learn to tell our children to value themselves. Don't allow people to dictate their way of life. Because as I said, we don't know what people is doing to get what they have to, all them brand name and thing. We don't know what people just be doing to get those things. So we have to teach our children, be contented, be happy with what you have, value what you have. Maybe down the road, even when you watch those children and they have all them brand name, when you hear them start working, you know they don't buy them brand name. You know they don't buy those brand names. There is thing at the parents, and parents allow a lot of nonsense to go on with their children. Children, if you look at it today, children control parents. It's no longer parents controlling children. Children are actually controlling parents. Children are actually telling. Like I have a 2-year-old, and the mom bought the child to the gave the child a lollipop. No lollipop is allowed. And the mother said, oh God, is she crying? And I don't want you to think. From the time the child saw me, the child handed me the lollipop one time. And the mother's asking me, what? She threw down, she bawling for the lollipop. But when she come here, she just hand you the lollipop. What am I doing wrong? I said, what you're doing wrong is that you allowing her to control you. When you say no, no means no.
Exactly.
But all you know does be yes. And that is why you have so many delinquent and unruly children. When they meet a certain age, you want to control them from 9 months, even before 9 months. You know, these children show their attitude. And if you don't put a stop to it and let them, no, we're not going to have that. 9 months old understand when they're doing wrong things.
Of course.
And give them tantrums. So we have to start doing what we're supposed to do. Please. Okay, here you are. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Yeah? So we have a job to do. We have to go back to the grassroots.
That's right.
People.
That's right. Thank you, Cheryl. Dovicia, do you want to say something again, or is that the old hand?
Oh yeah, let me take it down.
Okay, great. Akisha, let's take what's in the chat, and then I'll
chat.
move on to the symptoms and causes of materialism. But some people already went way down into my script from the contributions they made.
Yes. But before I get into the message, I just have 2 points that I would like to make concerning the whole conversation. Now, I think something that we need to remember is parents oftentimes try to lecture their children. And in that process, probably maybe because you didn't have it, you feel your child must have the very best. And of course, that has its advantages and its disadvantages. Buying something for your child that your child do not need, that is a disadvantage of that situation. Now, the whole issue with the book bag, that was happening since I was going to school. I remember going to school, and JanSport was the bag that everybody had. And it was one of the more expensive bags, but it was also a very strong bag. But you see, persons would change them every term, but it wasn't necessary that it change every term or every school year. But it was very strong. It could have taken you from Form 1 to Form 5 if you would have purchased it for that value. And I say that because, like, for me, I may buy something that has a particular brand name for my child, but it's not because of the brand, but it's because of the quality of the product. And I understand that she's a certain way with things, and she needs something of quality because it's gonna mash up easy. So it's not necessary that brand is a bad thing to buy. But if it is providing a specific purpose and adding a specific amount of value for the child, I think it may be better. It may be a better investment to invest in something a little more pricey for the purpose of value, that as opposed to buying something that may be $100 and by the end of the term you have to replace it. All right. Of course, that $1,200 bag may be a different situation altogether, but that's why some parents may still go along the line to buy something of a higher quality. But let's get into the...
No, Akisha, I want to jump in a little bit here.
Yeah.
You see, what you described there is you as a parent evaluating a situation and arriving at a decision based on what you have found. It's not the craze to get the expensive bag.
Mhm.
For my children, they went to school with the cheap bags. But when my son was in third year medical school, or past third year, when he had to go on clinical rotations, I knew, look, I'll have to buy something, leather bags for him, land bags and so on to put his instruments. And so, yes, but at that point in time, I told myself he deserved it. And so I bought those kinds of things for him. But these are parents who are buying things for children to be in the in thing,
Right, yeah.
which
So
is
the
different
purpose
from
must
what
be
you described.
yes, yes. I
Yes,
agree with you.
yes.
So we have via the chat.
Okay.
Sorry?
No, I was saying I appreciated what you said because I had bought the bags the last school year. And because I pay attention to quality, I bought good school bags.
Mhm.
So I wondered what has happened to the bags
The
I
good
bought
ones.
last year. The mother couldn't give me an answer.
Yeah, they can carry
But
on with it
yet
if it's of
she,
high quality.
but I told her I washed my kids' school bag, my grandkids' school bags. They were washed and they
Mhm.
lasted more. They would have more than one school bags, but they would last more
Yeah.
than 1 year.
Mhm.
But is the idea that the child wanted this bag because her friends are having this
Yeah.
bag?
Mhm.
But
Watch out,
before
my
you go,
parents.
I remember going to high school. I'm from a family of 12 kids. 2 of us were going to Harmons at the time. And I didn't have shoes to wear to school. My mother didn't have money to go buy me shoes. So she gave me one of her shoes to wear to school. Imagine her feet were much bigger than mine, but it had a strap over so it wouldn't fall off. And I wore that pair of shoes to school. And the person who was supposed to be my best friend, she called to attention my shoes to all my friends. And I was embarrassed. But then I said, why am I embarrassed? This is my mom's shoes. And that had taught me then as a young girl not to depend on friendship and what friends consider themselves to be my roadmap. So I was one of these kids who learned to be alone and be of good company to myself just because of that incident.
Yes, true. So by the chat we have, I think the first comment was already read. So not wanting to be seen in public with anything bought from Rattan. There are a lot of people or stores of that liking. I tell people I find my vehicle is to take me from point A to point B and not as a status symbol. You know, have you ever heard stories of persons having to pay for their vehicles and can't pay for anything else after they pay for their
Yes.
vehicle?
Yes.
My mind is, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense to me. But there are people who do that the salary can only cover their vehicle. That's it, nothing else.
It's a
But anyway,
material world.
yes, yes. So it does not have to be the most expensive. I think that's the one with the secret compartment, and that's probably the book bag. Yes, that bag is often the target of theft at school, and that was the same thing that happened when I was going to school and transport. Persons would come to school to transport today, and by the end of the day, no book bag because somebody stole it. So it's like the same. It's a different bag, but it's the same situation because that was a popular bag back then. You know, so now we also have another comment, butter bullets. Remember those? And palette man and whitening to whiten the shoes. Another comment reads, that was my question to the parent. What has happened to the last bag that I had gotten the young girls? And like we just said, you can repeat these things. But as simple as you said that, now my daughter is in primary school. And one term, her bag was good. I repeated the bag because it was good. And she said, Mommy, you know, when I went to school, my friends told me that's your bag from last year. I was like, yeah, but it's a good bag.
So
it's a good bag, you know? But even at that young age, that's the point. She was probably first year, second, no, couldn't be first year, second year standard one, first term. And somebody, reminded her, it was the back from last year. I was like, yeah, you're gonna repeat it because it's usable.
It's good.
Nothing is wrong with it.
Mhm.
So that's to tell you at the age that type of reality comes into play, a very young age. I just came in and I support some parents, yeah, really spoil their children as though, I think just now, as though it's a competition, and that's true. Yeah. A past tutor of mine saw me and my little Tita and said, "A big Swati like you driving this car." I thought that was awful. I bought what I can afford. And I'm sure at the end of the month, you can eat and you can do other things that
Yes,
some
yes.
people who have these big vehicles cannot do. That's it. Their money exhausts after that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
be grateful and thankful for what you have, appreciate what you have. And I think that's one of the most important lessons we can teach ourselves or remind ourselves and pass on to our children. Now, even if we may have really nice things, still be very appreciative of what you have.
That's right.
So
That's right. So some symptoms of materialism. Thank you, Akisha.
yeah,
They
welcome.
always want something new. We
Mhm.
talked about that. So
Yeah.
they had a bag last term, but they cannot, or last year, they cannot take it back to school. They always want something new. They care passionately about specific brands. We spoke about that. The Nike and the Jordan and the other names that I don't know. They need new belongings to impress people. Marjorie very early spoke about using those material things to define you, to say who you are, to feel important. They buy things to make themselves feel better. And they're defining themselves with their possessions. You see what I said when I said people were down into my script? Because these things came out in our discussion. So those are symptoms. They just want, they're craving. These things I must get them. And the danger is that if they don't get them, they'll find a way, steal the bag, walk into a store and pick up a bag and run out. Listen, let's educate the village and help people to understand that we have to be grateful for what we have. And Akisha, you mentioned it as well. But what causes all this materialism? There's a constant barrage on the internet from social media, YouTube videos, ads about new things. There's always something being pushed in your face. You're doing research on the internet, and there's so many advertisements. Even in my email, your ads are popping up on the promotions. The ads are coming up, all kinds of things they're showing you. And if for once you searched for a handbag somewhere, well, all these ads with a million handbags are coming in. So there's this constant barrage, and our young people cannot handle that. Even when they're on the apps and games, the advertisements are popping up. Then there's peer pressure. So your daughter could have been a victim, but thank God she didn't become that victim of peer pressure. That's your bag from last year. So what happened? I didn't change. I'm the same person from last year and the year before and the year before that. I'm here. So why can't I use what I had last year and the year before and the year before that? And whenever I purchase something, I squeeze every cent out of it. I remember at work indicating to some of my staff members that I have church clothes that I've been wearing for 20 years, and they started to laugh. They could not understand how I could be wearing a church dress that is 20 years old. Well, I have dresses that are older than that, and I am going to wear them. Yes, Glenda.
I don't want to interrupt your trend of thought, and I don't want to forget this. If we will teach our children self-assertiveness, half the problem solved. We do not teach our children to be assertive in themselves, not because you're poor. John, you talk about flower bag and look at the mighty woman you have become. I'm not talking your height, yes, you're tall and so. But as an educator and stuff, right? Look at the type of person you have become. That does not define you.
That's right.
And we have done, this is what we are not doing. We are not teaching the children of society or the village, as you say, to be satisfied. You could go to Rattan and find a blouse that you will go in the mall and you're paying $60 for it in Rattan, and you're going in the mall and you're paying $300. That should not
and we know
define
about
you.
Ross. We know about Ross.
Thank you. What, girl?
Ross is the
And you know,
Rattan
when
of
I
the
fix
US.
up them Ross, when I fix up them Ross clothes, you don't even know it's Ross. Put sleeve, put this, fix that. If you teach your little girls to help themselves, so they could learn to fix and sew and pretty up thing by little edging. And we are not teaching values to the children. This is something that I am observing.
PJ
We are
Maxx.
not teaching values. We are not teaching values.
Yes.
What is it? And you see, to be assertive, to tell yourself, you see, me, nothing wrong with me. I
That's
love
right.
me.
That's
and if I have
right.
one butter bullet, or I have on Clarks, it can make no difference. It's what I have up in my head. I could be black like the road. I could be red like the sun. That is not important. We have to teach our children assertiveness. Love yourself and forget who have
What
on
people
what.
think. Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of these children are learning nothing, as the lady say, you know, because they're focusing on bag and brand name. So they ain't had time for school. So we have to get back to the old days, girl. We have
It's
to.
a sad situation. I hope the parents would listen. Listen, please share the YouTube video so that people will listen, and hopefully there'll be some change. So we were talking about the causes of materialism, and we spoke about the advertisements. We spoke about peer pressure. But sometimes bullying also causes people to become materialistic. And now, you know, we like to look at celebrities. So if a celebrity has something, we want it also. But do we understand the kind of money these people work for? And sometimes the things they do to arrive at their positions. But another cause is also overindulgence. And I'm speaking to the parents now. Overindulgence. We just want to give them and give them and give them everything that they don't need. Overindulgence. And then what happens? When they become materialistic, the effects could be far-reaching. There's distraction from studies because they're focusing on the material. And I'm sure you know sometimes of people who have been beaten badly because they stepped on someone's expensive shoe by accident. Because you focus on the material things. So some become distracted from studies. They just want the bag. No books. No books. And some become distracted from developmental activities. Children are supposed to grow and develop according to predictable patterns. And this is what the developmental psychologists say. They're supposed to develop in particular ways. But when we shower them with everything that they don't need, sometimes we stunt their development. These things also distract them from involvement in social activities. We also instill unrealistic expectations about adulthood in our children. So we shower them with material things And they expect that when they become adults, that material things will just be flowing like that. But then when they become distracted from studies, they come out from school with nothing almost. They can't find a job. They don't understand how to work. What do they do? What do they do? They in Price Mart car park looking for somebody's vehicle, and the mall car parks looking for somebody's vehicle, and looking to snatch somebody's handbag in tongue so that they can get their sneakers. Materials, a material world. Watch out, my parents. Let's be careful about what we're teaching them. So stealing and other crimes are as a result of materialism. It also causes them to be envious. They're jealous of other persons. So because this person has an expensive shoe, they want one also. But there are things that we can do, and we'll talk about some strategies a little later on. It also places financial strain on parents. You can't buy a plate of food, but you want a $1,200 bag, and you will buy a shoe for $1,500, an Air Force One for $1,500, and your child is stepping through Scarborough or Port of Spain going to school in that. And there was a time when they were taking those shoes off people's feet, stealing them off your feet in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a material world. Parents, let's be careful about what we are doing. So they place financial strain on you. And parents, you really need some licks, because we're not supposed to let children do that. We have to teach them to work so that eventually when they're receiving their own salaries, they could purchase what they want. I like nice things. I didn't grow up with having a lot of things. I went to school barefooted in primary school. In secondary school, I wore shoes. I wasn't able to live the way I'm living now. I learned to work. Teach in the daytime, sew in the night, bake cakes and decorate in the night. Do floral arrangements for brides and bridesmaids, and so teach the children to work so that they would understand the value of things. But when we shower them with expensive things, give them everything that they want, and they hardly want to sweep the yard or wash the dishes, then we are training them not in the way they should go. And the Bible says, train them up in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart.
You know, another effect could be lack of gratitude, because when you give these children everything that they want, after a while, they just feel entitled. If they think that, you know, whatever I want, I should get. So you see a lot of, you know, younger children, sometimes they're not grateful for anything because they believe that everything should just be entitled, you know. But I have an older friend, and she always tell me, she said, Akeisha, no matter how much money you have, no matter your financial situation, never give your child everything she wants.
I believe
Never.
that. I believe.
She said, yes. Her son is about my age, and she said when he was young, he had to work for whatever he wanted, and they're not struggling. She said, but it doesn't matter. He had to work for what he has, and today he is such a respected and hard-working young man, and I believe it's based on, you know, that principle,
It's
allowing him
upbringing.
from early to work for what you want. Yes, you will get your basic things. I'm not going to deprive you from that, but I'm not going to give you the things that you just want. I'll give you things that you need, you know, and that is a lesson that I take with me, because I want to bring up a whole person. I always say that, you know, a well-rounded person. So we also added to what you said. I believe we also taken away that gratitude that person should have from our children because they feel entitled. Let me see what the chat.
Yes.
Oh, you are the cake lady. The things we give to our children are given to them because we don't have the time to properly raise them. Sometimes that's so very true. We also have from this year, 3 weeks before the school term ended, my son's bag strap burst, sorry. It is needle and
Of
it's needle and
course.
thread for that, yes. It was sewed up and last till school closed. 0 complaints from him. Listen, if you don't raise a fussy child, most likely the child is not going to fuss about certain things, you know? And sometimes we see people on Instagram and try to be like them, not knowing what it just posing for show. That's not their real life. And, you know, recently I saw one of those what do you call them? These people who make these funny videos, one of them in Trinidad. And he was portraying, you know, this person who went to all over. The person was in Paris and then they go in here and they go in here and everywhere. But the person was right local,
Right here
you
in
know.
Trinidad and Tobago. Yes.
But there's so many persons, and I was laughing, but there's so many persons who just pretend to be living large, you know. They just pretend to have it all together and they're not really doing anything with their life. So what you see out there, you know, it's half
It's
the
not
time it's
real.
not true. It's not real. It's not real. So don't be envious of something that's not real. And parents are to be blamed. Sorry. And parents are to blame. We mold our children. All right. I think the teaching that's coming to when to believe in one's word and to be able to walk alone. That was a comment that was made before.
Important.
And that's very true, eh? See you and your value, have your own self-confidence, because that's what's gonna take you wherever, you know, when you grow up and all of that. Because other people's opinion half the time don't matter.
That's
That's
right.
how I see it.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yes. Thank you, Akisha. So how is materialism the parents' fault? Overindulgence, I mentioned it already. Showering them with expensive gifts, giving them brand names, wanting them to keep up with the Joneses. That's the people next door. For the younger people, they may not understand that, but it's just keeping up with people who could afford it. There's some people who could afford it. There's some people who could afford it. And Akisha spoke of parents who could have afforded it, but still did not give the child everything that he would have wanted. He had to work. He had to learn to understand, you know, that there must be an exchange. You work and you receive. You work and you receive. How can we help our children? Bishop, I see you unmuted. Did you want to say something? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you ever heard the name of the Washikong?
Of course I had washikong. The washikong you scrub, you know, washikong with your scrubbing brush. You scrubbed them until they were clean. Yes.
Yes, well, I guess the modern children and parents wouldn't know anything about Washikong, but in Tobago, we know about that, and they were very strong.
Of course.
You know? And I think some parents are responsible for their children's attitude. As you mentioned before, they want to keep up with the Jones and then brand name, etc. But the Bible says you have to train up your child in the way he should go, and that has to do with discipline. Not everything the child wants, you'll give that child. You have to make sure you tell the child exactly what is good for him or her. So I believe that some parents, they are responsible for their children, because lots of brand name these days. And when I look at these children, so many books in the back on the back, weighing them down. In our days, just an exercise book, couple exercise book, and you know, you have a reading book, etc. We never have a book bag going to school. And I went to Lescato EC and also Franklin Methodist in Lescato. We didn't know anything about book bag, but now we see small children, so many books, and we have to change book every year, etc. Cost the parents lots of money.
Yes, they have too many books. I always said that as a teacher. Too many books, too many books. I mean, learning and information could come from anywhere, so there's no need to have them with all those books. We have to teach our children the value of money and hard work. Marty, stop reading my script. We're moving on to how do we help our children, helping our children. It is recommended.
That's my
Yes.
little bit for tonight.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bishop. It is recommended that we give them a regular allowance and give them a place to keep their allowance. And it is also recommended that we divide that allowance into 3 categories. You're spending money, you're saving, and you're giving. Teach them to give. Teach them to give. You see, in church, when that collection plate or basket or bag comes around, children have to learn to stretch their hand and put something in it. We have to teach them to give, teach them to share with other people. And in our families, we can have discussions about finances. They need to understand how your income and your expenses affect them and how their expenses affects the family. So we have to teach them about money, teach them about finances, help them to understand it's not magic. So you want a Jordan or an Air Force One or whatever it is, and yes, the money will come and you will get it. They have to understand there's an income that the family has to, and somebody, Marjorie mentioned, they teach them how to budget. Teach them how to budget from very early. So they have to understand how the income and expenditure affect them and how their expenses affects the family. If you have 10 children, how many Jordans can you purchase? You're preparing 4 children for secondary school this term, or 2 for primary, 2 for secondary. How many Air Force Ones can you purchase? Or is it that you will take a loan to purchase the Air Force One, and then what will happen after that? You're paying a bank because you took a loan to satisfy the needs of children, not needs, sorry. And that brings me to my other point. We have to help them to understand the distinction between wants and needs. Satisfy their needs. What do children need? And nobody's saying you can't buy a gift for your children here and there. Nobody is saying you can't give them something good. But children must not get accustomed to you bending over backwards and spending your last dollar because they want something expensive to go and show off with it. Something that will distract them from their studies because they're only going to be thinking about this expensive bag and this expensive shoe. And then what goes into their brain? Absolutely nothing. So we have to teach them to understand what wants are and what needs are. Help them to understand that you satisfy your needs first and foremost. Your needs. Whatever you want, that could come afterwards when you could afford it. We have to teach them to recognize too, by discussing with them, teach them to recognize what is driving their desire for these expensive things. So they come and they want an Air Force One. Well, I know about Air Force One. Sit and have a conversation with them. Why? What made you want an Air Force One? And if they tell you, well, I saw it advertised on TV, or I saw it advertised wherever, or I saw somebody with it, have a discussion with them and help them to understand that it's not because you see it being advertised. Teach them reality. When you produce everything that children want, they will not stop. We need to have these conversations with them so that they will understand. And sometimes what could help them would be like a mentor, like, somebody who really is good at managing finances, some older person, somebody who from church or the neighborhood or some club, or it could even be a relative who understands how to budget and manage finances and so on. You can have that person assist as well, because that person will be able to help them, as you are trying to do, to create a nice balance between their wants and needs and spending. So what do I spend on first? I spend on my needs first of all. And then we have to teach them too that you cannot afford to spend everything at the end of the month and then scrape through the rest of the month. Some people do that. So you get paid at the end of the month and you take them shopping and you take them to a restaurant and you do everything and spend all the money, and then there's nothing to take you through the rest of the month. How can we help them? We must keep that money conversation going. Talk about their earnings, their spending, the material interests will eventually change when they understand the balance between earning and spending. And when they begin to work, somebody was saying sometimes they don't even purchase the expensive things anymore because now they understand, look, this is what I have. Because you've taught them to budget, you've taught them to balance, between needs and wants. And so they also understand that they need to save, they need to keep some money, they need to live, they need to manage well. And somebody mentioned this earlier too. Gratitude, be grateful for what you have. That is so important. So if I have one pair of shoes that I wear to church on Sundays, and I go to school barefooted Monday to Friday, I'm grateful that my feet are able to take me to school. I remember speaking to a secondary school some time ago, secondary school in Central, where I was asked to do a motivational speech for young people. And when I told them, when they're well-dressed, the pantsuit and the handbag and the shoes were matching perfectly. And I told them, I see what I'm wearing today? I wasn't always able to wear this. I went to school barefooted. Well, that auditorium erupted in laughter because they could not understand how I went to school barefooted. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Primary school, yes, I did. Yes. I was grateful. And the one pair of shoes that was for church on Sundays, I was grateful for that as well. And when we discussed poverty is not hell, remember we said that we didn't even know we were poor. We just lived. We knew, we were all sleeping in one room on the floor, on whatever you had to put on the floor to lie down to sleep on. We had our lamps, no electricity, whatever it was. But we did not know that we were poor. We didn't know. We have to teach people to be grateful, teach the children to be grateful for what they have. So when they're looking at others, draw attention to what you have. Look at what you have. Practice gratitude, and you have to practice it with the children. So they must see you and hear you saying thanks for what you have. So it becomes a way of life. It's instilled in them. So if it's one bread to share for all of them, give thanks, be grateful that at least you have something to eat. And when they see you, when they hear you, they will eventually learn to be grateful as well. And despite the situation, we have to teach them to care and to share. We mentioned that earlier. We are helping our children to get out of this materialistic prison that they're existing in. Teach them to care and to share. And I remember our parents, although we were poor, anybody who came to the village could get a plate of food, could get a meal, could spend the night, because we knew how to care and share. And some of them become so sad because of some experiences that they have. So their friends can afford to go to Disney World for vacation, but they could only afford to go and run in the field, run around in a savannah nearby. When you take them for that run on the playground or wherever it is, be sure to talk about the joy in that experience. So you can't go around telling them, this is all we could do. We can't afford to go away. We can afford to take a walk as a family in the moonlight. We can afford to play a game outside in the yard together. So teach them about the joy, emphasize the joy in whatever experience you might have. And you see priorities, we have to sit down with children and help them to set their priorities in order. Vocalize your priorities. So I have this amount of money. However, what comes first is the rent. I have the electricity bill, and we must pay for the water. We must purchase food and so on, because for some of them, mommy get paid at the end of the month, so I want an iPhone. We have to teach them to set their priorities right. They will see how you value things, the value you placed on things, and eventually they're going to learn from you. We talked about teaching them to budget and teaching them to care and share. Let them see you helping in your community. Let them see you giving to other people. And as a parent, reconsider the gift giving. Sometimes we shower them with too many gifts. Christmas is coming, and so they have to get 5, 6, 7 gifts. Reconsider that. Do they need all those gifts? Or does some other child need a gift? You see, we teach them what to look forward to. We teach them that, and so they become so materialistic. And so they have so many things piled up and piled up and piled up, and eventually have to throw away this and throw away that. So what you have to teach them too about environmental waste. And in some instances, we have to involve other family members, because sometimes you have aunties and uncles and cousins who will shower them with material things as well. Yes, they can give the gifts to them. However, we don't want it to be overdone to the point that they become materialistic. And as a parent, we have to pay attention to whatever is influencing them and guide them out of it. This is a list that I really want to probably place it on YouTube separately or place it on Facebook separately so that people can at least have the list and see what they need to do. But parents be saying, watch out. You might be raising a materialistic boy or a materialistic girl. You might be raising someone who eventually decides that they want to find a weapon and rob somebody of their vehicle, or a gold chain in town, or break into somebody's house. All of it is linked to materialism. And this is destroying the world. Teach them to work hard. Teach them to work hard. Teach them not to be selfish and jealous of people because of what they have, but in their own states to be content. Akisha? Yes, I don't know if you have any questions, but I know we have some comments in the chat, and I hand it to you to complete it.
So we do have some comments.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to start from the last one and go up since I can't find those Christmas gifts. Some parents pay at every credit union and divisions so that their children can get all the toys for each party.
Oh.
Yeah. I know of a young lady who missed graduation from secondary school last term because she wanted $6,000 worth of things for the event, expensive weave among them.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We don't share our history with our children. It's so important. Very true. I was sharing with a young mother about saving little every time she gets paid. Hide it in a jar so that at the beginning of the new school year, she wouldn't be so far behind. save a little as you go, it adds up. Children now say, you old people work hard, but we work smart now. So toiling isn't in their thinking. The device is like a god in their hand. Parents are to be blamed. They are to be taught values. Very true. You know, I in this topic, I'm thinking children don't work, so their income is based on what you give them, or you basically will have some level of control. So when they become materialistic, it's our fault.
Yes.
I heard a
Yes.
lady say, I heard a lady say she and her husband gave a budgeting for a month to her children so they could understand the concept of why their parents can't always give them all the things that they ask for immediately. She said by half of the month, the money runs out, and it was cricks for the rest of the month. A hands-on lesson. You had some agreements. Sharon Winchester is agreeing with you. We use slates to write on.
Akisha wouldn't know what that is. Yeah,
No,
we
I
wrote
don't know
on
what that
slates.
It's like paper. What was that?
It's like a stone, a sheet, square, and there was a slate pencil that he used to write on the slate with. It's not a book, it's a flat thing.
He knows about
Those were our
chalkboard.
tablets.
Chalkboard.
Like a chalkboard. Okay.
Was
Joel, was it
a 1 foot square chalkboard.
So you
was
erase
it
your
like a
notes?
piece of like a
That
piece
I
of
have
ply?
broken.
But we
Was
had
it
a
like a
slate
piece
pencil.
Oh
A
yeah,
small
but you,
blackboard
yeah,
instead of school.
but it could
So every
break.
time
It
you write
could
your
have
notes on it,
gotten
you have to
broken.
erase the notes to write more notes?
No, you erase it. You
Yes,
learn
you have
to
to erase
write. You learn to write, and then you erase it.
Okay.
A small blackboard made of stone. Well, it is.
There were small blackboards as well, but I remember a slate. Slate was more
Yeah,
like
they're
a stony
slate.
material.
Yeah, I just told her it's like a blackboard, chalkboard.
That's what I
But it
said.
was
It was
made
like
of,
a small blackboard in a
yeah, it
wooden
was
frame.
made of slate.
Yes, yes. in a
And they were
frame.
kept in school. They were kept in the school.
No, we
Yes,
had some.
Dolores. Yes.
We could have taken some, our parents could have bought us some too, so we practiced writing at home.
At home. Yeah.
Yes. But
So
then
we
we
had
wrote on the
had
ground,
tablets. We
you
can boast
know.
and say we had tablets.
Yeah, we had tablets before tablets were a feature. And then we had the walls. Any wall that was available at home, you could write on. If you got permission, you could write on them. Even on the ground, we swept the floor, the ground, the earth, and then we wrote on the dirt. That's what we did. Summertime, that's what we did. And if we had one book, I had a Grimm's fairy tale book. I'm old now, so you know how long ago that was. And I would read that book, and every time I read that book, the stories were different. And that's what I tell kids about reading and your imagination. I had such an active imagination as a child because I would read one book 100 times, and it was like 100 different books I was reading.
Wow. Rebecca said Moses had tablets. Yes, he came down with tablets of stone. So you had tablets.
All right, so let me move on to the points to note based on what we discussed today. Children are a gift from God. We should train up the child in the way he should go. Steer your children away from obtaining things by any means. And I believe that starts with us as parents. Teach them to work hard. Teach them the value of earning based on the work that they would have put out and not by fast means, because we know how that ends. Jesus is the friend of a wounded heart, so reach out to that friend of a wounded heart. This evening, I want to thank everyone for participating, for your comments, for your contribution, for making this evening session one that we will definitely remember. And at the end, remember, we were discussing, watch out, my parents, I'm a material boy, material girl. And of course, we would have seen from all of the, or heard from all of the different points, how we can address that and how we can change that, because we really want to have well-rounded children who are going to grow up and be positive members of society. And this is one of the ways we can do that. All right, so see you guys again next Wednesday, same time, same link. Invite someone when you're coming. Next week, we're talking about Watch Out, My Children, Part 3. This time, we're going to focus on drugs. All right, so it's going to be a very serious session. There's a lot out there for our young children to indulge in, as we would have seen and heard over the news and other means. So look out for that session next Wednesday, 9 p.m. by the very same login credentials you used this evening. Remember, if you miss any one of our recordings, you can find it via YouTube or Facebook. Just look for Hope and Action Network and you're going to find all of our recordings. So as we come to an end, let's just pray and thank God for a successful session this evening. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, I want to thank you for this evening. I want to thank you for the topic that we were able to discuss. All of the persons who would have been able to share their thoughts and comments and contribution based on this topic. I pray that God that is going to reach to the right persons who won't log in here this evening, but who would eventually see the session. And if necessary, that they need to make adjustments, that they would, dear God. Lord, I pray that you would be with everyone who would have been logged on to this session this evening. I pray that you allow us to have a good night rest and a good day tomorrow. It's my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Have a blessed evening, everyone.
Amen. Thanks for the participation, everybody.
You know what I've noticed?